Hey everybody, it's Matt Kato and Matt Bertz here, and we're playing Madden NFL 16. It's just out in EA's early access program with exclusive to Xbox One. So we're playing the Xbox One version, obviously. And we're just going to go through today, just show you some of the gameplay, some of the new catch gameplay, which is kind of a big talking point for them this year, one of the big changes in the gameplay front. And we're also going to go through the Ultimate Team draft, which again is kind of a new way to play Ultimate Team.
Draft Champions.
Oh, yes, Draft Champions. Sorry. The EA marketing person just tapped me on the shoulder. Just kidding. And then also show you a little bit of scouting and some of the franchise stuff. So kind of a wide swath here, and hopefully you'll get a good look at the game.
So we've got a big AFC matchup here. Kato, you're on the sticks as the Chargers, and I'm the Colts.
Some of the greatest uniforms there ever were. The baby blues.
Nike hasn't screwed up either of these teams' jerseys yet, have they?
No, not yet. I'm sure they're trying.
This game has officially begun.
All right, so presentation obviously looks pretty similar to last year, but you're going to see some stat wipes and some interesting stuff. Like right here, you're going to see like that little pop-up bubble's new this year. And as the quarterback walks on the field, this is new. I really like this touch.
Oh, those are so nice.
Where is he, though? Where is he? There he is.
I've seen some general ones, too, where if you've got, maybe some of the QBs have, a little less glorious history, it's a little different. But, and by the way, the commentary for some of these intros, I think, is pretty similar to last year, so.
So how many games have you put in at this point?
Quite a few. Tried a variety of different teams, so not just, not just good teams or, bad teams or whatever. So kind of seen a range of QBs and stuff like that. So that's kind of nice. And you can tell, some of the differences.
Yeah, I really noticed too. I've been playing them predominantly offline in franchise mode. The quarterbacks really seem different from the AI perspective this year. You're going to see them operate very differently. Like a skittish guy like Christian Ponder is going to chuck it at the first sight of pressure, and you're going to see some other guys kind of sit back and absorb that.
Yeah, that was a little surprising throw there from Rivers. He should be able to make that throw. I kind of lobbed it, and that's one of the things that you kind of have to get a little touch on this year, which is, when to lob, when to bullet pass. And, you can use the left analog stick to kind of shade where you want it to go, but there's also some other kind of tools at your disposal, which definitely help. So now you see up there, it said the RAC, X for run after the catch. Now those are the suggestions for what you want to press to catch the ball, but you can actually do whatever you want. If you want to do kind of an aggressive catches where the receiver will go up to get it at the height and maybe like do a jump to get it if it's over a cornerback. There's also run after the catch, which is highlights, kind of turning and going upfield. And finally, there's possession catch, which is just hitting A as the ball's coming, and that just kind of secures it maybe at the expense of running after the catch. But you can ignore them. You don't have to do any of them. You can just let it go, and the computer will just catch it like it normally does.
Now, in your time playing, have you noticed a big difference between the aggressive catch and possession catch?
Definitely. I think, certainly there's some balls which, like if it's a deep ball, it might, or if let's say your receiver's a little bit behind the cornerback, something like an aggressive catch is really going to stand out. And the other thing that, you kind of have to pay attention to is when you press that aggressive catch. For instance, if you press it early, he'll really make a concerted effort to do it. If you press it a little late, he'll still kind of try to climb up and get it, but it'll be a lot different as if you time it correctly. See that one? You notice I threw it low, which for this the Xbox One is you hit the left trigger before you throw it, and you threw it kind of low there. So I did that to try to prevent you possibly from coming back and getting it. And kind of put it in a spot where only my receiver can get it, and that time it worked pretty well. If you hit L bumper in that instance, it would actually be a high catch.
Now, how long did it take you to get used to having that second layer of controls to your passing game?
It took me a little while, and I certainly practiced at it, so I would, I just went in the free practice as well, of course, as playing in different games, trying some different things out. And, like with the curl routes, like you see there, the curl flats, which is the Y pass play right there, something like that, it's going to be pretty specific to, like that time was a low throw, or if, you're doing like deep routes, those are kind of specific instances where you kind of know what you may want to do. For instance, like in a deep route, you could do aggressive catch, but you could also do run after the catch. So you might kind of know what to expect a little bit as you do it. So that one,
come on, Lowry.
That one should have been picked. But that was, clearly a case where I kind of more lobbed it, and I definitely want to do aggressive catch because that's the only way, you can try to catch it as well as maybe even try to break it up if it's going to be possibly picked off.
Yeah, I've noticed there's some situations where you feel like you're not sure which one you're supposed to do in that split second. A lot of times third down right at the sticks.
Yeah.
If you see the corner has a good position on it, you want to be aggressive to make sure he doesn't pick it off. But the aggressive catch will a lot of times bring you back toward the line of scrimmage, which can, cost you that first down.
Yeah, and if you press, let's say, aggressive really early, let's say from the get-go, you kind of have a feeling that that's the way it might go, it will alter as Bert said, it'll alter the receiver's route. So you kind of have to be careful of that. Nice. Ooh. Oh, you. Oh!
Yoop.
Nice.
Phillip Rivers, not the most agile guy on defense. Just the coaches probably don't want him to even be near that.
Oh, he's got the beard going.
The best Amish quarterback in the history of the NFL.
There's a great tweet account where it's basically Andrew Luck as a Civil War general. That is so good. So on defense, obviously you're kind of once removed in a certain way where you're reacting to what, where the ball's coming, what the route is. So it's a little more difficult to get some of those aggressive catch or aggressive sort of catch. And then if you hold down A, that's kind of where your defender will go for the body of the receiver, which can be helpful. And let's say it's a route over the middle and you're trailing and you just want to draw the ball loose. It's a little more difficult because, like I said, you're sort of a little bit behind because you're reacting to what's going on. You'll see a lot of those, where the defender will hit the guy, he's kind of had it, but he'll pop out. So that's kind of nice for some of those slant routes, some of those little, I wouldn't say money plays, but some of those kind of safer plays. You get a little bit more different outcomes this time around, it looks like.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot. I've even noticed last night I had a guy wrestle a ball out of possession from a defensive back. So there's a lot more interaction between those guys. Oh, come on, man. Did you get a hand on that?
I hit Y, but I don't know that I actually got one on it. I think I might have just dropped that one. Yeah, along the sidelines in the back of the end zone, you're just going to see a little, you'll see some different things kind of go on, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's ugly.
Yeah.
That's just poor form. Yeah, T.Y. Hilton doesn't like that either.
And this will be from 47 yards, the field goal attempt.
And I just want to say, with these, the icons, you'll see like all this stuff flash up on screen and whatnot. You can turn those completely off. As I said, you don't have to select them. And as well as that, you don't actually look at them. You can just turn them off if you find it annoying. I think, as the number of games I've played and stuff, I actually don't mind it, so.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as invasive as some of like the on-screen tutorial stuff you'll see, like the NHL one for 16 that they're introducing. I had to turn that off immediately because it takes over the entire screen. That's game over.
Yeah, see that one.
Did you do run after the catch there?
I actually did, and he just caught it.
Well, you had enough room that it really was. You could have done whatever you wanted. You could have had a tea party.
Yeah, and so every once in a while you'll see like maybe you'll hit an aggressive catch and it'll do something a little wild, like try to make a one-handed catch or whatever. But a lot of times they are the sort of outcomes that you'd expect, which is a nice thing I think about the system.
Add the extra point, the kick is good.
So what have you noticed about the commentary and presentation this year, outside of like those new stat wipes that we've seen a couple times?
Not too much different on the commentary. I certainly like the announcers as, the way they talk and stuff like that. But as far as a game and it being dynamic and reactive, it's not super satisfying. At the end of the games, you'll get comments that sort of don't really make sense, or going from week to week, you'll get comments that don't really make sense. So, I really don't notice a whole lot that's different. I wouldn't say that it's, improved necessarily.
Yeah, they still haven't caught up to like the 2Ks and NBA 2K and FIFA in that regards. Yeah.
There is some wonder, like, Jim Nantz, who's doing the play-by-play, if it is, like you were talking about, like, a cornerback kind of popping the ball out, or, some guy, it's kind of a wrestle up in midair and someone comes down with it. He'll get, kind of excited for stuff like that. So that is kind of cool to hear. The kickoffs, punts and kickoffs, I don't think have really changed very much. It's still, once the opposing team gets past that first line, you're pretty much on your own. Or if you call exactly it to the right side and it's the right kind of kick, you have a chance to take it all the way. But I don't, I just don't find a lot of joy generally in the punt returns or the kick returns as they are now.
Yeah, it's pretty rote how I respond to that stuff. I make my one move and then they collapse on me.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of daylight, or you just kind of run it up into the blockers. So the running game, I admit I'm not the greatest runner, but I do feel that, like, oh, fart. Sorry, just gonna, can I back that one up here? I'll go to the next play. I actually wanted to call a running play and I didn't. So I admit I'm not the best, runner. And one of the things that I generally find is I can have trouble hitting the hole a little bit sometimes, or dancing a little bit in the backfield. And I think this year, I definitely noticed. Oh, look at that! That's one of those good group tackles there. We see looked like he actually busted his knees. If that really would have happened, but he got kind of folded over there, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, the group tackling's a lot better this year, I feel like, than it has been in years past. You really feel the momentum when another guy joins the fray.
Mm-hmm. I just like to throw guys in the pile. Just throw in that cornerback just to see what will happen if, it'll kind of knock the ball carrier a little bit. But I think, generally with the interior line play, running play for me in particular, maybe getting hung up on my blockers, he'll go up into the runner, let's say, might go up into the back of the blockers, but he'll also kind of maybe do some stutter steps right when he's there, or maybe just kind of slide or roll off. It's kind of nice because it does something, but at the same time, it's not just like ping pong where it, automatically just slide out of the way, or, even morph with bad collisions. So I think it's done pretty well, and it's not overpowering. Although I would say I think some of the holes are a little bigger, particularly for the AI if you're playing it's like on All Pro, which I play on. Some of the holes seem bigger, so you can get some teams that definitely be running on you. But I think it's just one of those small little changes that kind of just helps one of the little frustrations I have, in particular with the running game. I think the blocking, as you get into on the sweeps and stuff, I think some of that, sort of having your blockers identify exactly who they should be blocking is still, I think, about the same as last year, unfortunately. But for the interior running game, I think it's cleaned up a little bit.
Now, have you tried a lot of that? They have that new Get Skinny button, so you can squeeze through holes.
A little bit, but I think it's pretty specific. And I tried it a little bit, but it just, when I'm behind the line of scrimmage and I'm just trying to hit the hole, it's generally not the kind of thing I like to fool around with too much.
So overall, you've put in a lot of games. Like, I know this isn't the review, you're still evaluating, but how do you feel about the gameplay so far?
I like the new passing options. I like the variety that you see in the tackles, as well as the catches along the sideline and some of the outcomes and stuff. I think I speak for everybody. Like we've kind of been talking, maybe defense. Oh man, isn't my strong suit. So, seeing the AI defenders, on my team maybe pop the ball out or whatnot is kind of cool. As well as if you're playing, as I was saying, maybe some weaker QBs, seeing a little bit more variation in how they attack your defense as well as just making and missing some throws. Offers some varieties. So that's definitely a plus. I think there's certainly some things that people will notice that are the same, as last year, like we were talking about some of the blocking on the sweeps.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that's still in there, but I like the way it plays, and it just gives me a new way to kind of think about throwing the ball, and as well as just playing quarterback and attacking defenses. You gotta.
Oh, that's a pick.
I think that was one-handed. Yeah, I was hitting wide all the way because I figured just trying to get up there and disrupt that was the only way to do that.
Well, should we pop out and check out some of the other modes?
Sure. One of the new ways to play Ultimate Team this year is called Draft Champions. Now, certainly you can go and play Ultimate Team like you always have, but Draft Champions is just a little different take on it. So if we go in, we'll see some of the choices and kind of how it's different here as we build our team.
You are in the hot seat, controlling it all. Choose a coach who will execute the game plan.
Not that guy. I don't want him either.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's...
A great pick here.
Take them to the field where you'll put it all on the
Special stadium just for this mode.
Back to pass once again. Winston's airing it out. What an effort and a touchdown.
your strategy.
All right, welcome into your first
All right.
ever draft.
So as you go in here, you can do solo, which means you obviously just play by yourself offline, or you can go head-to-head. Now, you won't be drafting against somebody in real time, but you will be playing against other people. So
And
it's
you
kind
don't
of
use your Ultimate Team cards, right? Like this is just totally separate?
Yeah, correct. And unlike FUT, there's no entrance fee. You just kind of come in and start it up. So the solo draft, it'll ask me to do the coach. So it's a little weird because like you can see the coaches and the different, like LP, long pass, MD, man defense. And you can kind of toggle here, but you actually, I guess there it goes, 3-4 defense, and then, the passing, the offense. So you want to take a look at that so you kind of know maybe a little bit what you should be getting into.
So even if you're a 4-3 guy, like because these are the cards you were dealt, you're going to be playing 3-4 with this team?
You're going to be running that playbook and you're going to be running that defense, yeah. So in this case, I don't have an option if I'm a 4-3, but there's really no way to change this up. There's no way to reshuffle it or anything. So we're not going him.
Now, what happens if you try to get out of here and back out of the mode?
And you got to back out. It'll save it here, as you can see. So basically, it's like the only way to do it is to draft an entire team, start to play, then I think you can lose. Yeah, you got to lose, and then you'll have to restart. So it really kind of locks you into this for better or for worse. We'll take John Harbaugh as sort of the best of the bad bunch because I'm not going to be a Packers coach, and I'm not going to be that guy.
No one wants to be associated with the Browns. Sorry,
Yeah.
Cleveland.
So then, yes, you generate a base team. So if you see up in the upper left-hand corner, it says round 1 of 15. Now, as we go down here, it shows, it highlights the different positions. So this is the safety, and you go over the tackle. It'll highlight all the other tackles on your roster. And also you can kind of take a look around and see what else you have. A lot of these guys will be 70s, 60s. Sometimes you'll get some guys who actually can play for you. But it's one of those things you want to check out as you go through here and you take a look at.
Basically, you're not going to be able to fill every spot with you have 15 rounds and you have 22 starters, right?
Exactly, yeah. So you kind of have to pick your poison. And then if you notice, so it says 8, in Suggs it says 88 right outside linebacker, PR. So that tells you what the scheme he's in. And if it's a correct fit for the scheme you've chosen through your coach, it'll go green. So that might be one of those things you might consider. If you like all things being equal, maybe you'll pick the guy who's the scheme fit.
Now, none of these three dudes are scheme fits for you, but you can go BPA or just go like, I play this style, so I'm going to choose this kind of player.
Yeah. I mean, I've played it a bit. It's tough to tell if, let's say, if you just went for talent and the people you want, and you just played the game you wanted to play, if that would be superior over a total scheme fit outfit. But I'm just going to go tackle just because it's a position you're going to want to have.
So you have Shaba and Sanchez. You're already set at quarterback.
And empty. I think I'll take empty. Whoever that might be better than those other two. So as you can see, you're thinking, okay, well, what may I get in the other rounds? There's a lot of rounds left, but I don't know what I'm going to get. There's been times I've gone through and I've not gotten, a QB, or I've not gotten a position I want. So
yeah, here I like it. Like, these guys aren't dramatically good.
Yeah.
I kind of like taking the right outside linebacker because you can slot him in at the left if you need to, because if you have a middle guy, he's not necessarily going to have the range you want for a guy roving on the outside.
True.
And Tillman 78, that's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
your base guys aren't that good either.
Yeah, you don't want to panic on that one. So yeah, there it is. It's kind of in that little turquoise or whatever. It kind of tells you that he's a fit. So
He's not that good though.
Yeah, an 81 is nothing special. I mean, I'm gonna wager that with the number of rounds we've got left, I'm gonna figure we'd probably be offered a better running back somewhere else. So I'm gonna go tight end on this one.
Oh, no question that this guy's gonna grade out as a huge impact over what was there before.
All right, so there's another tackle. So obviously we don't need him. I think we took that right over there, so that would give us there. And then the ends, ends. I think Bertz, you and I have talked about through the years whether ends are underpowered in Madden
or overpowered, as the case may be. Yeah,
I guess that's up to 81. Yeah, again, none of these guys are sure things. Let's maybe try to get like a
year 3-4. So having a Doomerville out there rushing is a good idea.
Oh, and more ends. Yeah, I'm not going to go either of those guys. So, I mean, 80's not great, but I'll take it. And then maybe hopefully if there's another strong safety, hopefully there's other competition that will be more enticing to take, and then I can just ignore that spot. I already got the tight end, I already got the right outside linebacker.
Corner's a need.
Yeah, look at that. There's all 4 guys and they're all low 7s.
And he fits your scheme.
Yeah.
So there's a quarterback. And there's a
yeah.
really good end. And a really good center.
I'm gonna go QB. I think.
Oh, and that's a key upgrade right there. He's versatile, athletic, and a big
All right, so yeah, we could go for a pretty decent linebacking core or
bolster that secondary.
I'm gonna go with the core. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go 83.
Quinn
fuck that.
He fits your scheme too.
Yeah, let's go with that. 85 is better than 83. So 9 of 5. So maybe now we got to start thinking. Oh, there we go. I'm glad I didn't have to get pushed into that hole.
Cutler,
yeah. Get desperate there. So yeah, 9 of 15. Now you got to start thinking. What if I don't get some of those things that maybe I was counting on before? Geez, guard or center.
Guard pulls, center makes the calls.
Yeah, center I guess is in the
scheme,
so I'll
too.
take him.
So there's another guard.
We got the middle linebacker already.
You don't have a receiver yet, do you?
No. So let's see what we've got so far. Yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah, that's a spot of need, definitely.
Well, all 3 of those guys are in the scheme fit, so that's cool. All right, another corner. Yeah, so this one I go corner again because we've already addressed we didn't address the middle, huh?
2 corners, though.
Yeah,
I mean, those guys are on
corner.
the field all the time.
You can never have too many corners, as they say.
It's the guy with the short arms, Amakamura.
It's a sweet name, but yeah. Okay.
Now here, so you already had your tight end, so you can kind of ignore him.
Tackle or running back. I think, you know what? I'm going to go tackle, even though he's a Packer, but I'm going to go tackle and then maybe hope that I can kind of make whatever I want. Kind of running back by committee or something. Nothing against Justin Forsett, but maybe, hope of having a decent, good line kind of make maybe those running backs look a little better.
And the last round we should mention is a legend round, right? So there's going to be an elite player there.
Yes, that's true. Okay, so what do we have?
You don't have an end yet, so I think Mario Williams is a good upgrade for you.
Mario Williams, the former number 1 overall pick, is the choice.
All right, second to last round here. So
there's 2 amazing players.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go Calvin Johnson, just because he's Calvin Johnson. All right, here is the legend card.
receiver position.
Randall Cunningham, but you already got him. But look at, there's the running back. You haven't got one yet,
Sweet.
and Ladainian is amazing.
Okay, yeah. Well, see, as again, maybe you're a Steeler fan, maybe you just like centers, but that's certainly the case where you just don't know what you're going to get. And, no offense, but all legends in this case are not created equal, certainly.
Oh, did they get themselves a player here? Or
Yeah, so 82 overall is not bad. I've seen some much worse drafts.
Yeah, I don't think you can, really tank it unless you're, really weren't thinking. But I think, as we've been told, getting in the low 80s is pretty good. So where you'll go from here is you'll go play. You can, adjust the lineup and do all the things that you normally do. But if you go and you play a game, you'll play one of, I think, 3 games. And so it's kind of, single elimination. You get your payout once you play it all. If you didn't, as we were saying, if you didn't like what you drafted, you'd kind of have to play the game, lose, and then go back. But as you could see, you kind of get what you want to get, which is, I guess, maybe some of the attraction of the mode, and that you can just kind of dive in, kind of have some of the draft day sort of drama, so to speak, as well as maybe think a little bit of how you want to build your team.
Yeah, and hopefully, if this becomes an online destination, it's going to give a lot more variety of strategy than we see right now, because, we talked to the Madden guys about this. A lot of online games they take place, or like people choose 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah.
That's it. All the elite guys are playing with those same 4 teams. Here you get more of like a wild card flavor of like, oh, this guy's stacked heavy on receivers, or this guy's more run centric. Maybe you're going to see a little more strategy at play, but we'll have to see if the community likes it. Cause right off the bat, if you can't choose your playbook, well, if I'm competing online, I want to bring my best. And a lot of times that comes down to the plays that you're given.
Yeah, and if we've all been there in the pre-snap. Let's say if you wander the wrong menu, or if you're just playing a new team and all of a sudden you're playing a 3-4 and you don't want to play a 4-3, you're looking at these player diagrams and you're like, I don't know how to call a good 3-4 defense, so you'll have to get used to a little bit of that. I mean, I do like the times I've run it, I've never felt that I was truly handicapped. I may have been skewed in some of the consciously skewed my team a certain way, just because, you know what, hell, I'm just gonna have a team with no wide receivers, or I skewed it a certain way, but that was my own choosing. But with what I was presented, I kind of could think back and think, okay, well, I made this decision, I made that decision. Again, you're not going to get everything you want, which is, I think, kind of some of the fun of it. So I think it's going to be pretty cool for to try out on, and like I said, to see how the community takes it.
Very cool. So should we jump into franchise and see what's going on there?
Absolutely. All right. So new this year, this is a totally new HUD, or user screen, and as you can see in the upper right-hand corner there, things to do, which is obvious enough. And you can scrolls down there, and you can ignore these as you can in previous years. And then
but already this bugs me. I mean, look at how much real estate on the left is devoted to basically nothing.
So yeah, you can certainly see, okay, there's how many rounds of the off season. It doesn't really tell you all that's really going on in that off season, but I guess there's circles that will be filled in at some point. So
yeah, but where's my news? I love the news system that they
where's
built
the
in
news?
Madden
Okay,
15 or 13 was it?
So we're gonna go right bumper, and then there's our team, and you can press on these and do things with them from here, like their goals or whatever. So again, where's the news? You can go again. You hit right bumper, and it's goals for the coach and the team. And this is the more in-depth depth chart here. You can switch people around from center to guard or whatever. And now we're over to league, and then sort of
and
news.
It's still not in here.
It's still not in here, and so I hit A, and then this brings up. What was it, a couple years ago? They said they wanted to bring the sort of drama of the NFL with all these tweet personalities and the news, like your draft news and stuff. Well, now we're like 4 or 5 menus in.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of this is actually one of the things that really makes me feel a little more invested in my franchise, because you see what's going on with the league. You have a better idea of, oh, I'm facing this team that's really hot, or they just had a big injury cripple their team. Or like you get those draft tidbits about a guy.
Draft tidbits, yeah.
But so it's kind of annoying. It's been buried.
So then I guess maybe people didn't know what they were supposed to do with their franchise. I don't know, but we're week 1, so that's plainly stated well enough. And this is this is all here. So I prefer the old way. I think this moves around a little better. It doesn't chug as much. There's a little load there between offense and defense, but it's a little smoother. But it's really too bad they're bearing the news. One of the new things about the scouting is that you spend points for over 3 different sort of cycles to unlock the different grades for these people. So as you can see here, Madison McKnight, he has an A- throwing power, B throw on the run, and B- throwing accuracy for short. And that little 2 by his picture is the round, because we've scouted him all the way to the end, that's the round that his talent fits. So if we go into his
6
card,
foot tall quarterback is not going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, probably.
So, the top 3 skills. Now, I don't know about you, Bertz, but like the throwing, power is definitely one of those things I always want to know about my QB. But as you're going through, you don't really get to pick what are the areas that you scout. It just kind of brings up what are the 3 most, quote, important ones.
So important to them, not to you, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You
And
can't say, I want these 3.
Yeah, and as if we go through, so throwing power, sure, that's very useful. Throwing on the run is not something I generally care about. And throwing extra short, if you can't throw extra short, all the QBs that I ever play with, it's more about the long ball and stuff like that and how accurate they are, medium to long. So that throw accuracy short to me is not something I ever really care about. So if we go in actually to the QBs, as you can see, that actually will change. So let's do this other guy, Connor Vincent. This is like a Jared Lorenzen kind of guy.
He's a
here,
big
man.
guy.
It's a big boy. See, this is a little different for him. It shows the throwing accuracy mid. So I don't actually know what his short is, so I can't really stack him up. It's a little hard to stack him up. Now, because I scouted him to the end there, it was 3 times, and it was 3 sort of a 5, 10 point, 15 points. It tells me he's a true late first rounder. So I guess it's good as a first round, but he's also a late first rounder. So we certainly is he the second best QB or whatnot, or is he he's actually kind of better than this McKnight guy apparently because he's more of a second round talent. But
who's still slated to be the number 1 overall quarterback by like the fictitious draft board, that's supposed to be the Mel Kiper disposition.
And we'll see. Maybe I've certainly seen times where other teams will shy away from a guy if you scout him and it says, let's say he's a 4th round pick. That guy usually will fall around there. The first round pick will end up falling to, let's say, if he's supposed to be the 2nd rounder. So, let's just go to, certainly this sort of outlay of drafted, undrafted feels about the same for the different positions. Some positions just aren't, really well stocked, or there's different.
Now the quarterback, to unlock the 3rd one, it was 15 points, right? And the linemen are 11, so there's different point valuations.
Yeah.
Based on skill, position, and trenches, or
maybe it's just there's more scrutiny. Let's see, on wide receivers, certainly there'd be a lot of scrutiny for that. These centers, it looks like these guys are just maybe by the glamour or lack thereof of the position. So we've gone through the scouting, and I've simmed forward just to kind of get here to the draft. But the draft is a lot more user friendly. So when you go in, you got your draft board, and we'll be able to go and see all the grades for the people we've scouted. And also, if you notice there on the bottom, it says hit Y to add to watch list. So while we're scouting, anytime during the process, through all the different weeks, you can just go and tab these guys, and whether you've scouted them or not scouted them. And it's kind of nice because then when you hit L trigger, you can go to the watch list like this, and it'll have everybody listed down here, and we go to all positions.
So do they limit you to the amount of people you can put there, or are they pretty flexible?
I don't know. I had a decent amount of people there. Like I put in all my first, before every round, before I would draft, when I was off the clock, other teams would draft, and I would just go and add people for the watch list depending on, who was coming up and stuff to keep an eye on people. And I don't know actually the limit, but I was certainly, added quite a bit of people there. So we're not actually on the clock right now, but if you go and we look at the people we've scouted here for all the QBs, I like, I don't mind the grading system. I think that's, clear enough. As we were discussing before, you can't really pick what you want to scout, which is a little frustrating. And as we go in here, you'll see like the scouting combine grades. So one of the things we've simmed through in the offseason is the combine. And so the grades there, if you go into the person's card, over there on the right-hand side, you have the combine report.
Oh, I like the rankings.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So it gives you a little, little snapshot of how, well they did in the competition. And, those little events, we've noticed those before where it's like, okay, you can figure out that the 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle is going to be about agility. Bench press for like your offensive lineman is going to be like strength. Certainly 40-yard dash is the 40-yard dash. So that'll also give you a little peek as to, let's say, if it's a running back, wide receiver, maybe what are the areas that they excel in.
Yeah. One of the annoying things, though, is like one of the things I always like to look for when I'm drafting is I don't want an injury-prone guy. I don't want a guy who's always going to be on injured reserve, sucking up my salary. There's no way that you can kind of have those concerns in this draft mode, huh?
Yeah, that's not going to be served. I think, some of these guys, for the traits that unlocked, you can't pick it, but I have seen like toughness come up. I'm not sure if I've ever seen injury come up as one of the attributes.
But regardless, this scatter shot, like this is what you get. Are you to assume that the throwing deep is worse or the same as these, or?
Yeah. That's the thing is you don't really know, and it's like as you can see, there's only so many grades that you're looking at. So this guy with the 3rd round throwing power of B, I guess I don't really know how he differs, let's say, from the 4th round guy with the throwing power of B. Will they come out, even though they're drafted different? They're
they're gonna have 80 ratings or I guess 85 maybe.
I still got to figure that out a little bit. And as you go down here, certainly if we go to all positions, and let's say if we go to all available, so that just shows us everybody. Some of these guys, a 7 for a combine grade, and let's say going to this guy. I mean, for a defensive tackle, that's not really going to be worth a whole lot. There, as you can see, some of the other attributes. But maybe if you want to go, let's just look at halfbacks, for instance. A lot of these guys generally tend to have in the 7s because they're talking about generally fast guys. But maybe there's a lower rated guy here, like this guy, undrafted, but it's got a combine rating of 7.4. Maybe some of those guys, could very well be workout warriors, but also might be an indicator that, maybe this guy actually is going to just jump off a little bit.
So any other like new tweaks to this?
No, I mean, other than like, viewing your draft board, the watch list, certainly when you go in your draft, you just pick from here. So it's, you got all the scouting info at your fingertips, the combine report, the grades.
Now, when we simmed, we obviously missed out on spending a lot of those points. How did you feel your knowledge base was? That was one of the things that I've always kind of wondered about the Madden series. Is like, well, I only really know about 30 dudes, 40 dudes maybe.
I thought, I had a decent amount of points to spend through the weeks. You have to spend them or lose them each week. And there was weeks I just didn't spend some because, let's say, I was playing with the Vikings, so there were some positions I was looking at, some I wasn't looking at, which happens to all teams. So but I drafted into, let's say, undrafted guys. I scouted undrafted guys plenty of times. If it was a position I just was really interested in, like corner. And I did that for, 4 or 5 key positions. I did some other ones just to see what was out there, to see if, let's say, there was a running back I kind of wanted maybe in the 5th, 6th round, just to kind of round out my special teams. And overall, I thought I actually had more than enough points. So, like, some of these guys, like, you might go in, you might scout only for the 5 points because you find out it's a wide receiver and his catch is a C. Well, I'm never going to draft that guy.
Yeah.
So I just would move on. So, maybe you got to think a little bit about how you spend those points. But I definitely thought that I had more points than I needed.
So that's Madden 16. Quick peek at 3 different modes. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.